All right, guys, we got a big question to ask. Is this Odyssey Square to Square putter the new lab putter? Welcome to WGC Fits. Today, we are going to be discussing the question that was proposed in the intro. Going into this with no knowledge up front, what do you think?
I think that this is going to be an interesting comparison.
I agree. Knowing a little bit about the tech, what it is it's answering a very similar question, which I think is good because I don't think that enough companies are doing so right now. Right? So let's talk a little bit about the differences to start, I suppose. Start off with a square to square putter. Now, when someone is hitting a putt, the putting stroke is based on an arc. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Okay. And putters, being heel and toe weighted putters, pretend this is something different, right? They are built to open and close and rotate basically like this during the putting stroke to create a leverage point against the arc that a person can feel to basically time up impact, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Way above my pay grade, but correct.
Well, you understand the kind of what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Now, what's the difficult part of that? The difficult part of that, I would
Squaring it
argue,
up.
exactly, is if you're basing everything on timing something up at the bottom of a putting stroke, that's tough for some guys, right? Most of the people that we work with daily don't have the ability to practice every day, right? We don't practice every day. We work here. So just to give you an idea, it's a tough thing. So when a putter comes out with something that allows the putter, or I should say a golf company comes out with something that allows the putter to have an easier time at squaring that face up, interesting. And I think something that's definitely worth talking about, right? So let's talk about what the square to square putter does from a tech perspective first. Basically, it's a toe-up putter design, right? We kind of touched base on this in the review, but effectively what that means is if you sit here and you do kind of like the toe hang test, if you will, you'll see the toes up in the air, right? Now, if I start off here, it's gonna roll back, right? If I start off this direction, same thing, it's gonna roll back. This putter always wants to basically maintain that toe up in the air because that will allow, no matter where we are in the arc, to always come through square. So square to square, right? Now it does that by having a modern center shaft design, right? What that means is they've taken the putter, they've basically plugged it in more towards the middle of the putter in terms of center of gravity versus the front or the heel. And then they kind of incorporate a little bit of a forward press to allow it to present to the player, right?
Right.
Now, you've played golf for a long time, right?
Is that a good way of saying I'm old?
No.
Right.
You played golf for longer than me, right?
So again, you're saying I'm old. Got
I
it.
guess there's no wins here for me. You see what I'm dealing with, guys? You typically use a little bit of like a blade style putter, like more traditional, right? Like that's where I guess most of your rounds are.
Yes.
That's got a lot of toe hang, right?
A traditional blade putter.
Yes. Traditional toe hang, lots of blade. And you would say, I would argue you're probably a pretty good field putter, right? I think you have a pretty good putting stroke in general, right? Let's have you hit a couple of putts with this and just describe what it feels like, right? Use whatever one you want.
We're gonna use this one.
And get this out the way for right now. Okay.
So first and foremost, talking about it a little bit in the review of the putter, but it's a little different to set up. I'm used to more, I do actually have a center shafted putter, but it doesn't have forward press to it. So my hands are actually back here on my putter. So this one wants to put them ahead. My putting stroke is usually initiated by kind of pushing my hands forward. So it's different for me. All that being said, to actually stroke the putter.
Because the big thing I want you to focus on, I should have told you this before you hit that putt. I want you to hit a couple putts of this, and I don't really care about make or miss right now. I want you to just talk about what it feels like during the putting stroke.
Feels like during the putting stroke is I don't fight the putter.
Yes, that is the key part.
So there are times with a traditional bladed style putter, an Answer, Newport, number one, pick your company. And
Yeah, they all got one.
They all have one. I grew up with that style of putter. So that's the putter I've used predominantly throughout my career. Once I started putting with putters that actually, I guess, fit my stroke better, I realized how much I actually fought those putters trying to square them up.
I think that's a very key thing that you just touched on, because like you grew up with a ping answer, right? And I spent more than half of my time playing golf, like really playing golf, doing everything I could to try to keep the putter itself from feeling like it was rotating, because it turns out I just don't like that feeling, right? It was a constant fight, and I got decent at doing so, but you know, it never felt comfortable, you know? You know, it's kind of like when you're growing up, you're playing basketball or something, and you got shoes that are too small. You know, you still fight through it, but it ain't exactly the most comfortable thing out there. It was able to be something that I made work, right? But it didn't feel good.
Right.
So these kind of newer style of putters, they kind of answer that question, right? So the question that we were talking about originally is a new square to square putter, you know, the new lab putter, let's say. I think they both are kind of attacking from the same angle, if you will, right? They're both trying to, you know, come up with something that is better for the guy who just doesn't like the feeling of rotation, right? And in all the years that I've been fitting putters, I can say kind of a surprise to me, because I never thought when I first started this, right? If you would have told me, you know, way back when I was first starting off doing this, that I'd be fitting people for putters and the conversation would come to, I'm going to fit you into something that doesn't rotate because that's going to feel better for your stroke, I would have never told you that. You know, I never thought we'd be able to get there.
And it's interesting too, because as he was going close up on my putting stroke, I putt cross-handed. Why did I putt cross-handed? So that I could keep my
To keep it square. Yeah.
keep it square.
It's like I said, we do very similar things, and we've always fought the feeling of rotation.
Correct. And I've always putted cross-handed. So putting normal, quote unquote normal, would be very foreign to me.
Now, that's something we could both talk about, right? Things that you do to fight that feeling of rotation. You go cross-handed. I'm guessing your grip pressure is kind of manipulated a little bit, right? You know, for me, I've actually kind of introduced a pretty severe wrist lock in my right wrist that kind of really keeps that putter from moving, right? Never felt good, but the result was I could keep it online and start it online, right? And it's, you know, been something that worked out pretty well. So let's talk about, before we do a direct comparison, let's say, what's
He's
going
on fire.
with the lab putter. He's heating up, right? What's going on with the lab putter? Now, this is one that we're both experienced in, let's say, right? They would say that this is a lie angle balanced putter, right? So main thing being, again, we can do that kind of quote unquote toe hang test, right? If I set this up here, right, toes up in the air, but I can also set it up here and it's gonna stay, it's hard to kind of balance, it's gonna stay like that, right? So this one isn't actually going to rotate and always fight back to get somewhere. This is actually gonna fight to not rotate, right? Now this one's a little bit different in it's set up as a counterbalance, so it actually doesn't have an extreme forward press. We're not really kind of discussing that. I'm more interested in talking about just tech of the actual club heads, because in the future, we'll see what happens, but there might be more of these Odysseys coming out. It's interesting because, like, you know, who's to say which one's better? I couldn't tell you, right? Is it taking away all rotation, or is it always getting to the same spot in rotation? I don't know, right? Hitting putts with both, and go ahead and hit a couple putts with that one.
Okay.
Like, what do you think the feeling is, let's say? Do you feel like it's much different? Do you feel like one's drastically better than the other? Because I think that's where it gets really interesting.
This one's a little different to hold.
Yeah.
Coming from those.
We unfortunately don't do our feels and our own personal eye tests any favors when we do this YouTube video stuff.
Sure. Right.
It's like a constant stress test on your golf game.
Yeah, this one's a little different.
Yep.
I know you like this putter a lot.
Well, it's my putter.
Yeah.
You know? I adopted them pretty early, and I've had good results since. So
I would say from a forgiveness standpoint, this thing is very, very forgiving. For me, I probably fight this one a little bit more as I swing it.
because you almost like having a little bit more of that momentum, kind of getting you where you need to get to, right?
Correct. Yep.
And that wouldn't surprise me. Being a guy who had a blade, you're used to that thing having a little bit of momentum in it, let's say. Do you kind of feel how they're both almost similar, let's say, in how they are attempting to keep that face square to target, or
Yes.
in this case, not letting it get away from target in the first place?
I mean, from a setup standpoint, they both want to have your hands a little bit more ahead. So in that way, they're very, very similar. Obviously, visually, they're a little different.
And I think the big thing here also is when you're talking about
There's a lot more mass to this one, but this one, again, this one's
that's
special.
specialty to me. Yeah, I like a
Right.
very heavy putter, so
So do I, but this one's just different.
it's very heavy.
Right.
The big thing that I'll say is
I feel like with this one, I need to manipulate it a little bit more, but I can manipulate it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where that one, I don't have to manipulate it, and maybe because of the weight difference, maybe it's just different.
That's actually, I think that's kind of a good way to put it. I'll hit a couple putts here. I'll hit this one. I think that's, a good way to put it, right? There's a little bit of difference in terms of how they attack that question. But I honestly don't think that either one's wrong, right? If that makes sense. Same thing.
Again, the importance of trying them.
Yes, very important. I think that the biggest thing to talk about when it comes to, if we're going to compare these two, is the elephant in the room being price. The one thing that I think that these do quite well at is these are $300. That's a very good thing to have. See, talking about feel, while you feel like there's less manipulation on your end with this putter, I feel like there's more for me, right? And that's just, again, opposites, right?
Sure.
So this one to me is kind of tough to get to start online. I almost feel like I have to aim pretty right at target. And when I do, it's a much better putt. It definitely feels, I think probably because I've used that a little more, I think I can actually feel this wanting to rotate a little bit. So maybe if anything, that speaks to the fact that if I don't have something that doesn't move, right, I can actually feel it going a little left on me.
Sure.
Again, I'll go back to, I don't want to feel any movement, right? Like just how it was. So I think that's the main difference. I like the way it feels, and like we were saying in the review, I feel like it's very easy to get this to go where you want it to go. Just the feeling in the stroke, you have to determine if that's okay for you. And I will say, most of the time, like I could see just looking back at fittings and stuff, this is probably going to be one that a lot of guys rotate to, right? I think that this is a feeling that a lot of people are going to like, right? Let me switch it up here. We're going to hit a couple with this now, just so I can try to describe the differences. This does look way different now. That's crazy. Yeah, I just like that. Maybe a little more familiar. That's probably a good word.
Sure.
A little
this
more
is-
familiar.
This is a little bit more custom. I mean, this one-
You know what's super interesting for me?
What's that?
I actually quite like the way those feel off the face. I've never really been an insert guy, right? You know that.
Right.
But I liked when they first came out with that Odyssey Fit insert.
This one?
Yeah,
Specifically?
the AI1 soft one, the new White Hot, if you will. And I like it in that too, right? It offers a really good, unique, soft but good feedback thing, right? Obviously something that these guys don't do. They are different, right? Like I can't sit there and tell you they're the same. They're not. But they both are, I think, attacking the same question.
The same clientele.
in a slightly different
way.
manner, right? And I can't tell you what I think is better or worse yet. I honestly don't think there's going to be one that's better or worse, rather than you just have to find the one that suits you better. I think that's the biggest thing.
You're
and that's
comfortable
what we do
with.
here. You know, it's the fitting process. One person's going to like the feeling of that thing always swinging back on line. The other person's going to like the feeling of more of a straight line. You know, right now, I would say I probably fall more into the straight line window. You probably fall more into the get me to that line window, you know, just because that's what we're used to. But I think both are really good. I honestly can't say that, you know, I have any bad things to say about that. I just think that,
It's just different.
yeah, that's the best way to put it. It's different, right?
Not bad, just different.
I know that this company does a quote unquote test that they like to put all the other putters through, right? I would say when I put the number 7 through that quote unquote test, it did better than any other putter ever has. So it kind of goes to show the text there. It does do what it's supposed to do. It just does it in a different manner.
Right, and you do have the ability to change out weights in his putter as well.
Oh
so
yeah,
that's-
they're going to be customizable, just like when we do a fitting, just like anything else, right? I want to say we're going to be able to do full loft and length and lie and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if we're interested in the fitting portion of this, always come in, try them out, because we'll have all the options. There's going to be 3 options in this: the number 7 CS, the double wide CS, and then the Jailbird CS. Jailbird's that one that goes like blue, white, the Ricky Fowler putter, if you will. I guess that's what it's known for now.
First version, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have them here. They're very good. Like I said, I don't really have any bad parts to say about it. Honestly, I'm gonna spend some time with them and kind of do a little more testing, because they're brand new to us. So I think they're good.
Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
If you have any questions, let us know. We'll see you next time.